Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jesse Fonestock. I'm a project director at the Global Maritime Forum, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the launch of this ambition statement, Taking Action on Operational Efficiency. Very pleased to be launching it here in Athens at the annual summit of the Global Maritime Forum. We're also pleased to welcome those of you who are joining us online via the YouTube stream. We're very excited about this announcement. We have an ambition statement that's been signed by 30 companies covering much of the maritime value chain. And we have a distinguished panel representing 3 of those companies here with us today. We're going to tell you a little bit about what the statement is and where it came from, and give you a chance to ask some questions to the panelists. I'll quickly introduce who we're joined by today. Iman Abdallah is the Global Operations and Supply Chain Director for Cargo Ocean Transportation. Matt Turns is the General Manager for Strategy and Business Performance at Chevron Shipping. And Lieve Loche is the Chief Financial Officer and Interim CEO at Euronav. I'm sure you're familiar with all 3 of their companies, and we're going to get their perspectives on this work and on the issues surrounding operational efficiency in shipping. And I'd like to start with Iman, who's been with us on this journey since the beginning. And I hope you'll tell us a little bit about the journey to where we are today with the launch of this ambition statement, but also tell us about what the ambition statement means. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good morning. What a pleasure and an honor to be here for this launch in particular, very close to my heart. Today we're here to launch an ambition where 30 companies have rallied and have a dream to make this ambition a reality and make it come true. The ambition is to capture the benefits of a very low-hanging fruit. In our maritime industry, everybody is talking about decarbonization and achieving net zero, especially with the IMO's recent ambition and new strategy, which is to achieve net zero by 2050. But how are we going to get there? And while the world has been focused, and most of the industries, including ours, have been focused on looking for what is the future fuel, what is it going to be, what is the new ship design, a group of companies came together and realized that the maximum gain will come actually from operational efficiencies. We believe that 30% of our existing emissions could possibly be reduced if we manage to operate more efficiently. Now, that's a lot easier said than done, and this is what we've realized. And after 18 months of continuous discussions amongst us, we've managed to come up with an ambition statement that we're launching today. An ambition statement that you've rightly said, 30 companies have signed, and to me, this is it's a great sign of commitment, and it's a great sign that we will be able to turn this ambition to action. And interestingly, the theme of this year's summit at the Global Maritime Forum is actually turning our ambition as an industry to action. We're also using the word, instead of collaboration, we're using collab action, because this is what we're going to be focusing on going forward. So let me talk to you a bit about the ambition statement and what are the founding pillars that it stands on. First is data and transparency. During the summit, we spoke a lot about the importance of collection of data, standardization, simplification, and a commitment to transparency. I think as an industry, we have been fixated on keeping our data to ourselves and keeping the data in a black box. But with time, we have realized that we need to follow the footsteps of other industries, such as aviation, for example. So if you ask me what's my dream is for the maritime industry to replicate the advancement that the aviation industry has made, where ships will arrive at ports just in time when they're allowed to come alongside the berth and not have to wait. In Cargill, we're doing a lot of work on making sure that we have the most efficient fleet, and at the same time, we optimize our routes. So the same way people use Google Maps to arrive from point A to point B most efficiently, we do that in maritime as well. We're using AI, we're using digital twins, using software such as Zero North. And all of this is helping. But guess what? If the ship arrives at the port and has to wait for 30 days, then we haven't done much. And in fact, I believe that operational efficiencies is going to be the enabler for us to afford future fuels. So if we talk about green methanol, ammonia, whatever it is, right? The cost is not going to be the cost of heavy fuel oil that we have today. It's going to be double, it's going to be triple. So how are we going to be able to afford those future fuels? Unless we actually manage to consume a lot less of them. Based on the IMO's new ambition, we're going to have to be net zero in terms of carbon intensity, actually around 2040. So let's think about that for a little while. Right now it's 2023. We don't have a lot of time. We think we have a lot of time, but actually we don't. The other founding pillar is contractual terms. And when we talk about contractual terms, we're actually not only talking about freight contracts and COAs. Instead, we're also talking about commodity contracts, because it's commodity contracts that cascade and dictate the terms of shipping contracts. And that's why it's a collective effort. We're not going to be able to do this by ourselves. We're going to have to be able to do it with other industries, collaborating with them, working side by side, where everybody through the value chain realizes the importance of coming together and improving operational efficiencies. The other founding pillar is pilots. And the word pilots is an interesting word, and I'm very keen to initiate pilots, but I'm even more keen to have successful pilots that we can replicate on a global scale. The other aspect is ports and terminals. I cannot emphasize enough the role of ports and terminals, because actually this is where it all starts. It's the loading terms, it's the discharging terms, and it's the ports and terminals terms that are actually going to enable us to work with them and make sure that ships, when they arrive when they're supposed to, and not sail fast and wait. And last but not least is culture and leadership. And those are obviously extremely important, because if you are working for a company that does not believe in the importance of operational efficiencies, it's going to be extremely difficult for us to get their engagement, get their cooperation, and get them to work with us. So those are the 5 pillars. I'm hoping that from this moment onwards, this is where the heavy lifting starts. This is where the work will also start, and we start running these pilots, working hand in hand with everybody throughout the value chain, so that we can make a difference, reduce our fuel consumption, reduce our emissions, and make headways for future fuels and future ships.
Thank you so much, Iman. Inspiring and very clear, and I think it's really satisfying to know that we were able to get these 30 companies to agree that these 5 pillars, these areas for action, are both necessary and manageable to something that we can address together. I want to actually jump down to Liva and ask you, from your perspective, or from Euronav's perspective, why did you sign up to this ambition statement, and what are you already doing in this area? Can you share a little bit about that?
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Emma, also for the introduction, indeed explaining very well our ambition. So coming back, why Euronav joined this ambition, in fact, it was a no-brainer. Why? Because it allows us to have a cross-industry peer real-life experience exchange, contributing not only to the environment, but also to the bottom line of the company. So this made us really part of this ambition statement, but already turning that ambition into actions, because as we said, actions are important during our forum. And let me explain a bit, based on the 5 pillars that Emma explained, what Euronav already did together with the industry peers as a team. So coming back to the first pillar, the data capturing, Euronav there has brought on board advanced sensors. So we are currently capturing all the data real time, and we can share this data with whom needs it and be transparent on what's going on the vessel. It also allows us to, what we call, develop a voyage optimization program. As we already told, we go from point A to B. This can be done on a very more efficient way, and this is based on AI technology to develop there the best route, including consuming less fuel. The second one is related to contractual changes. So there we did an experiment or working together with a key customer of us, where we worked together on the just-in-time delivery or arrival at the port, where we slowed speed and we shared the benefits together. So this is the second pillar. The third pillar is related to pilots, where we have developed together with our cross-industry peers some business cases, CapEx developments, where we want to have a return on what we bring on board as an investment, where we had invested in some types, where we did tests to indeed test less consumption. I think most of you know the variable speed drives, which is a no-brainer. We also had some anti-fouling coatings that we are currently using, also with good impact. So those are some examples. Then the fourth pillar is related to the ports, as you mentioned, Emma, very important there, where we need their collaboration to optimize just-in-time delivery, and where we are working on a port call optimization program, also linked to our data platform and developing the best voyage or the voyage optimization. And then last but not least, culture and leadership. I think Euronav is very proud to be part of this. And it's not only about onshore and being part of this, it's also being our crew. Because of us measuring on a second basis all the data, our crew, and especially our captain, he is very much aware about fuel consumption and what is required there. So it's a full ambition that we have, an action that we can implement together, onshore, offshore, with our full community to deliver and put that ambition into action.
Thank you very much, Liba. I think it's worth noting that the ambition statement and the pillars that we're all agreeing on really reflect some of the actions that the industry has already identified, and what we're trying to establish now is the basis for doing more of it together. I just want to pause here before we go to Matt, because Liba unfortunately has an unavoidable conflict and will need to leave. But I do want to, if there's any questions specifically for Euronav that aren't about the ambition statement, I give a moment to anyone who would like to pose one from the floor here. Otherwise, we'll excuse Liba and carry on with the conversation. Looks like you can go. Thank you so much for joining us and for joining the statement. So now I'd like to move on to Matt and Chevron Shipping. Matt, really same question for you. Why is Chevron Shipping taking part in this? Why is it important to you?
Yeah, no, thank you, Jesse. We're very pleased to be a part of the ambition statement, and we really believe that it's important for the industry to come together to collectively reduce our emissions. So this is a great way to, I think, accelerate the change, and that's something that we certainly see. And I think a good example of that is in 2021, we joined the Sea Cargo Charter. And we had been doing some things when it comes to emissions in certain segments of our fleet, but the Sea Cargo Charter really accelerated our progress. So we were able to put together the systems to collect the data, to see where we are. It enabled us to change our chartering practices. So now emissions are part of the decision making there. It enabled us to do benchmarking. So not only just seeing our operated fleet, but also seeing how the time charters were performing, how our spot charters were performing, and then you can compare across. And then if somebody's doing particularly well, it's a great way for us to learn. And so that we see that as a catalyst. And then these ambitions really accelerate things that we're already doing. So it really helps drive new things for us. I think we are very interested in the data side. I think the data and analytics still really drive what needs to be done. We've been working on some data protocols with the Energy Leap group, and so trying to collect, and that's for tankers. And so one of the challenges is owners don't necessarily know what data is needed by the charterers. This is a way to standardize it, to try and reduce that roadblock. So if you have a set of guidelines, then everybody knows what is being asked of them. Everybody has the information that they need to do the analysis to become more efficient, to reduce those emissions. So we certainly believe in the data aspect of it. And then I think another interesting thing is that as Chevron Shipping, we're both an operator and a charterer. And that brings a unique perspective to things. So when we're talking about value chains and talking across or having some of the difficult conversations between charterers and owners, being on both sides of the fence is really useful because we can appreciate the other side. And I think that really helps us drive constructive conversations. And as we've talked about today, not just the conversation, but the action that needs to come from that. Yeah, we've been doing a number of different things with the data, because once you collect it, you do need to turn that into action. So we have an eco-steaming program that we're working with our VLCC fleet that saved 2,000 tons of CO2 this year, and we're looking as part of the ambition to expand that to the rest of our fleet. We also have looking at the chartering side of things, looking at the value chain. One of the benefits of being an integrated oil company is that we sit across larger parts of that value chain. So we've had some success on our West Coast where we optimize and do just-in-time arrival because we control the ships, we control the terminals. But there's a lot more that can be done. We can expand that to other owners. We can try and expand our experience to other terminals. And that's where the ambition statement is really helpful there. So I think we're really happy to be on board. We think that the ambition statement's going to accelerate a lot of the work that we're already doing. So we're working on conversions for LNG ships that'll be 20 or 30% more efficient in the future. As Liv said, we're also investing in state-of-the-art anti-fouling systems. But then there's, what else can we do? So leveraging what we're already doing and then trying to make more of an impact. So that's why it's important for us.
Thank you, Matt. Iman, you were kind enough to speak on behalf of the statement and the broader group, but I'm actually a little bit interested in hearing from Cargill's perspective also. What were the kinds of things that you're already doing in practical terms, and do you think that building this group and this ambition statement can aid those or accelerate them or strengthen them?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because we have a decarb strategy that we have adopted for a few years now. And we've broken it up into short measures, midterm, and long-term. And on short-term measures, it's first and foremost, you have biofuels, for example, which is a drop-in, does not require any kind of investment in the asset. And we have, while some of our industry peers are still talking about biofuel pilots, we've actually managed to run a full-fledged program supplying about 100,000 tons of biofuels so far, mainly in Rotterdam and in Singapore. So that's number one. As Matt said, also energy-saving devices. We also have the luxury of being both an operator and a charterer. And while we do not own any ships, we're still managed to leverage the fact that we're operating 700 ships, dry and wet, and work hand in hand with ship owners to make sure that we can mutually benefit from various energy-saving devices and energy-saving initiatives, all for the sake of reducing our fuel consumption. This is in addition, as I mentioned before, to optimizing voyages, using digital twins as one of the best means today to make sure that you're taking the optimal route and using software such as Zero North. In addition to that, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard about the Pyxis Ocean, where we installed the wind wings. And yes, we are capturing energy from wind, which is great because wind is free. There is ample wind worldwide, and let's make use of that. Again, this goes into our focus on reducing fuel consumption. We have tested rotors as well. So all of this is being done right here and right now. We've also ordered dual fuel vessels. We have 5 ships on order right now that are going to be delivering end of 25, 26. In addition to all of that, we're doing a lot of parceling. We're maximizing intake. It's all of these little pockets of things. And I like what Matt said about signing up to Sea Cargo Charter and what were the benefits of signing up to Sea Cargo Charter. So for those who are not familiar, so Sea Cargo Charter is a framework, and it's, again, a group of signatories that have come together to commit to report to commit to be more transparent, and most importantly, to commit on a common methodology. And I think this is extremely important because not only do you have a seat at the table and you actually manage to listen to what your peers are doing, how are they viewing their decarb strategy, what are they doing, what steps are they taking, but most importantly, by being able to collect data, and yes, in the beginning when we first started, it was brutal and it was very difficult and owners were not necessarily very forthcoming, but bit by bit, this has now become the new standard. The Sea Cargo Charter clause has become the new standard, and it's been now widely accepted without any pushback. And basically what this clause is it's a commitment from the owner to share their data with us. Once you've collected the data, once you've standardized the data, simplified the data, and you have that data ecosystem, you can only then be able to analyze and dissect your trade lanes, your voyages, and decipher where are my congestion pockets, where am I wasting so much energy, where am I wasting so much time and fuel and cost. And the best thing about it is that for everything that I have just mentioned, there is an instant payback. So we all have a business to run, and we all need to make sure that we have returns on investment. So the good thing about operational efficiencies or measures to reduce emissions is that by reducing emissions, you're reducing fuel consumption, and there is a return on investment. So a lot of great benefits, and that's why I encourage everybody to come on board. If you have not signed up yet, either to the ambition statement or to Sea Cargo Charter, think about it, reach out to the GMF, ask questions. We're more than happy to guide you, to help you, hold your hand, introduce you to these concepts if they're completely new concepts, and only by these means can we make a difference.
Thank you so much. I have a lot of follow-up questions of my own, but it's not what we're here for, and I'd like to sort of open up to the floor. If anybody has any questions for any of the three of us, actually, or about the ambition statement or the work that we're planning on doing. Are there any questions in the room? If you could please introduce yourself as well.
Hello, Papachristou from Tradewinds. Where do you stand on slow steaming? And can you also give us a breakdown on who else is on this initiative?
Yeah, so I think slow steaming and eco speed is now par for the course, right? We've seen that there's a lot of opportunity to slow steam, that you do see efficiencies, but there's also more you can do, additional efficiencies. So one of the areas that we're going to use the ambition statement and try and put a little bit more focus on is cargo handling. So within our LNG ships, there's a lot of opportunities to optimize both the weather routing and the cargo, because in LNG, they are so closely intertwined. It's very, very complex, but there's a lot of opportunity to reduce unnecessary boil-off, unnecessary fuel consumption. And then also on more traditional cargoes, there's cargo heating. And so there's lots of ways that you can optimize cargo heating to minimize the fuel consumption. So I think the weather routing, eco-steaming, that's par for the course now. It is, what else can we be doing? What are the other optimizations that we can be doing across the fleet? How can we work with other owners to make our successes and these new visualizations, new applications, new tools, again, now part of the bigger industry.
Evan, do you want to add anything on that, or?
No, but perhaps you can give some insight on who else signed the ambition statement.
Yeah, as it's 30 companies, and I'm not going to name them all, but I mean, the important thing is that we've got multiple parts of the value chain, right? I mean, I think that's been really one of the crucial things, to have both the ship owners and the charters, but not just them, right? I believe we have some ports.
We have ports, yeah. Yes. We have BIMCO as well. And
BIMCO is involved as well. So it's a pretty broad group. It should have been distributed to everybody in the room. So then the list is publicly available now that the press release and the statement has been published. So we do actually hope that there may be more signatories to come. This is the launch, but this is not the end of the work.
This is the start.
Right. Any other questions from the room? Yeah, over in the back.
Hi, Richard from Lloyd's List. None of what you're talking about is particularly revolutionary, as you've said. These are tried and tested methods with proven payback periods. So the basic question is, why is everybody not doing this? What are the barriers and the risks that are still there, and why the need for this to encourage people to do what is apparently in their own interests?
Yeah, thank you, Richard. So this is an excellent point. It's a given. It's a low-hanging fruit. It's quite obvious, but at the same time, we're not doing it. And what I started off by saying is that it's a lot easier said than done. So in Cargill, we move 25% of the 200 million tons of products that we move are actually internal trade flows. We have our own terminals. And yet, we have not been able to streamline and optimize our own supply chain and value chain from beginning to end. So I think this, for me, was very humbling, and it's a big reality that we are facing, that there are a lot of factors that go into play. One of them is ports and terminals. Second is contracts. And as I said before, it's not only your freight contracts, but it's also your underlying commodity contracts. And how do you bring everybody to the table across the value chain from beginning to end to agree on the right contract terms that will actually incentivize us all to operate more efficiently? Today, we're all looking, okay, as long as I arrive within my lake can, I'm good to go because somebody else is going to be paying for the ship to wait. But so what can we do? What contract terms can we put in place where this is not the case anymore? Where actually, I'm not going to just arrive and wait. Let's collectively split the incentives to make sure that we're aligned on one common goal. And what is that goal? To eliminate waste and to improve operational efficiencies.
Can I just ask a very quick
Yes.
follow-up? A cynical reading of that might suggest that the industry is focused on the future fuels and the things yet to come because it is easier to do that than to actually do the difficult detail of what you've just described. Do you think there is an argument to suggest that perhaps we have used the future fuel debate as a pretext for inaction in what we should be focusing on, which of course is this?
Yeah, possibly. I think I'm going to actually ask you a question. Will we be able to afford the future fuels if we continue with the existing framework, contract terms, and inefficiencies that we have today, where we have ships waiting at ports for up to 30, 40 days? Will we be able to afford those fuels? I personally don't think so. I think if we don't work hand in hand and in parallel on future fuels, future technology, but at the same time ensure that we are consuming a lot less and eliminate the wastage, eliminate the inefficiencies, I don't think we're going to make a lot of headway.
Yeah, I think it's going to take all types of solutions. So you need to be thinking about the long term, because if you're not thinking about it, you'll never get there. But you also need to then be integrating the short term. And efficiency is beneficial both in the short term or the long term, because the future fuels are going to be more expensive. There's going to be intense competition for feedstock. So the less you need of that, the better. And that's where if we can get another 15, 20, 25% out of what the industry is already doing today, that's 20% less future fuel that we need. That is less less wind farms, less solar, less carbon capture that's required. And so it benefits everybody to be really focusing on short-term actions, but you also, at some point, the short-term actions aren't going to be enough, so you need the long-term solution. So the industry needs to be working on all fronts all the time.
Yeah, and just to complement what you said there, I actually heard a lot of positive news from this summit, where we clearly see ports such as Rotterdam, Port of Singapore, making a lot of advancements, making actually commitments to share data, standardize, have the right digital connectivity between them, and creating green corridors, not in the sense that we are consuming green fuels, but green corridors where actually there are operational efficiencies on those trades between the two ports. They're testing it out in the container side, which is obviously a liner service, a lot more predictable and perhaps easier to start with. And hopefully we will get all the lessons learned from them and be able to replicate it on the wet and the dry side.
Thanks very much. On the list of signatories, because I don't want to miss anyone out, I'm not going to read them out, but I'm happy to provide it. My team has helped me out, and I have it for you afterwards if you need it. Any other questions from the floor? If not, I did receive... Oh, sorry. So we do have a couple questions down front here. There's a microphone coming to you. So.
Hi, it's Max with S&P Global Plus News. I'm just wondering, as an initiative, I mean, you mentioned about like the goal to reduce more than 200 million tons of carbon CO2 emission, and how does that translate into bunker consumption? And in the future, I mean, in terms of like your energy saving efficiency initiative, I think you mentioned those obviously could be very beneficial when you are shifting to low carbon fuels. And I'm just wondering that how do you think those experience can be translated?
Yeah, so I think it goes back to the, the world consumes a certain amount of fuel oil today to power the ships, and if we can get that 15-20% savings, it goes back to whatever's consuming today. That's less that we need to consume tomorrow, and the important part is, as we transition to the greener fuels, those are going to be again more expensive. Harder to make, so the less that the world needs of those, the better off that we're going to be.
Yeah, in one of the side discussions we had yesterday was what is the position of shipping in the hydrogen economy, and one of the facts that I have come to know, which was quite surprising, is that we will need 1.2 billion green molecules just to satisfy shipping's requirements based on today's fuel consumption.
So just to refer back to the 200 megatons of emissions, that was between 20 and 25% fuel savings, right? So that's based on based on fuel oil, those numbers that were cited earlier. We had a question in the back as well.
Thank you. Michael Fan from Tsakos Group. First of all, thank you. This brief has been extremely insightful for me. However, there are many questions and I don't know which one to pick. I heard the term slow steaming, I heard voyage optimization. The two are not synonymous. We require, you said don't use the word collaboration, but it has to be collaboration between the various parties, owners, charterers, port authorities, to work particularly on voyage optimization, because slow steaming may not be the answer to reduce the emissions. If we reduce the waiting time and we depart from the loading port and we unload at the destination port without any waiting time or minimizing waiting time, then fast steaming may be the answer, because that would result in reduced emissions if our objective is reduced emissions. So I think using the term slow steaming can be quite misleading. Fast steaming may be the answer in certain cases. So voyage optimization is probably a better terminology to use. And we're talking about 15, 20, or even 30% saving based on the efficiencies that you mentioned, but this is cumulative. And each one of those actions requires considerable investment. There's not a single energy-saving device, if you like, that will give you this. It will be a cumulative effect. If you have the right anti-fouling, perhaps you have to introduce ALS, you have to introduce wings. All of this together may result in 30%. And quite clearly, that's not possible. And if the target is zero by around 2050, according to IMO, we need to look at other solutions, because these efficiencies will not result in zero.
So excellent comments, and thank you for making them. I couldn't agree more that the ultimate objective is to optimize our supply chains from beginning to end. We should not take one solution in isolation, right? So in some cases, slow steaming will make sense. In some cases, it won't. But ultimately, we definitely don't want the ship to slow steam, consume less on a voyage, and then have to sit and wait at a port. Ultimately, as I said, at least my vision and our vision is that to have the maritime industry become more and more a replica of the aviation industry, where airplanes come at a specific time and they're expected to arrive at that time and they are received also on time. Okay, not perhaps at all the airports in the world and not recently, but for the most part, that's how it should work, right? So, and this is what we want, hopefully, to achieve in the maritime industry. Now, guess what? If we do achieve that, where there are zero investments, by the way, we could achieve the 30%. So the 30% operational gain from operational efficiencies is in addition to what we could possibly get from energy-saving devices, from wind wings, from rotors, et cetera, et cetera. So this is on top. And when I said collaboration, I said that during this summit, we put a twist on the word collaboration, and we just twisted it to collab action. So in addition to collaboration, because again, the theme is from ambition to action, let's not just speak verbally about our ambitions. Let's not just only have a dialogue on how we should collaborate. Let's put these dialogues into action. And here's the twist that came into collab action. Thank you. Thank you very much. Matt?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right when it comes to the optimization part of it, and really looking at all aspects of it, because there's so much interdependency. So within the vessel itself, within the routing itself, within the terminals, all of those provide opportunities. And I think one example, we were building some new LNG ships, and if you take the stock design that the shipyard gives you, it's suboptimal to begin with. So going in there and really looking at your trade routes and then optimizing the engine, the liquefaction, the boil off, the shaft generator, putting all of those pieces together, then you can get additional savings. But you have to put in the due diligence, and then you also have to share your learning. So we're operating on certain trade routes. We can share that with others. So I think it is an industry-wide optimization, and we need to be looking for those opportunities, and as they come up, to be able to take them. And it's not going to be all 30% all at once. It's going to be these little bites, and working together, we can go and take those bites.
I think maybe I'd just like to add on your point about needing to do more than efficiency. I think I can very safely say that all 30 signatories are also working on alternative fuels and longer-term solutions. And in fact, I think we all see this as a key enabler of those, not just on the savings environment, but developing a more optimized sector that can withstand this transition, the potential disruptions much better. I think we have a question.
Thank you. And it's very inspiring. Sorry. And it's very admirable from all these companies that they are committed to an ambition statement that will make the environment better for the next generations and everything. I just wanted to ask you, do you also believe that when other industries do some such great initiatives, they also involve their employers, their people that contribute to all these achievements? Do you have plans on involving, in terms of internal PR, let's say, in a communications language, the people that work on the ships and the administration offices of your companies as well?
Yeah, we definitely do that. It's actually, this is one of the more fun things to talk about internally, because people get so energized. Everybody wants to be a part of it. So it's really exciting to promote this inside, and then to actually do the work, because there's people putting their hands up all the time saying, hey, what can I do to try and help reduce our emissions? How can I do my part? And so is it the scheduler, there's the charterer, there's the technical team. Everybody is playing a role, and everybody likes to see the achievements. So with the ambition statement, we can start to set some goals, start to share some of the vision, and then work with the folks internally and give them their due credit for all the work that they do, and to promote them and promote the work. And so we certainly do try and do that, because it's well received, and it's probably one of the easier things that we do.
Yeah, so thank you for asking this question, because I think you're definitely putting the spotlight on where we need to put it. So in Cargill, for example, we have taken our decarb strategy, dissected it, and have illustrated in our own strategy how it cuts across the whole business, and have identified what role each and every function within the organization has to do to play a part in achieving those goals. So because we are a trading company or a freight service provider, and what we say to our customers and our new theme is that we offer a lot more than shipping. We are your partner on your decarb journey. We will help you, we will support you, and we will go at your own pace. And that means that the trader who's fixing in ships, they need to scrutinize which ships they are bringing into the fleet, right? And making sure that they're making the right decisions. They need to also make sure that they're reducing the ballast leg, they're increasing intake. Our operators, they need to operate the ship in the most efficient manner, to use the right routes and so forth. Everybody within the organization has a role to play. So that's within Cargill. Now, what about the ships? So it's interesting that actually we are piloting a system or an initiative where we are nudging the master and the chief engineer on a daily basis, giving them a nudge on fuel consumption. Have you done this? Have you done that? So that they are also part of the journey and part of achieving our ambitions. So it's on both onshore as well as offshore.
Do we have any other questions from the floor? If not, oh, sorry, we do have one. Yeah, it's in the, here, the mic will come.
So just one final question. It's about how large will be the investment that a ship operator need to make in order to achieve the optimization that we've been talking about today?
Yeah, so I definitely cannot speak on behalf of everybody in the industry, but what I can say is that you can make as little and as big as an investment as you have appetite. It depends, right, on where you are in that journey. But this is a call to action where there are a lot of things that we have within our control today that's not going to cost us anything other than dialogue, other than collaborating, other than working together on a common goal. So zero investment other than time and effort.
Yeah, I think you said it very, very well that the scheduling optimization, there's very little cost aside from people coming together to work on the details. And then when it comes to retrofits and things, then there can be significant investment. But I think a lot of what this group is trying to achieve through the ambition statement should be relatively low investment alternatives.
Yeah, I think the biggest investment is a change in mindset and change in culture. I think that's the investment that we're asking everybody to make.
Can I ask you both, just to recap for the group, we have these 5 pillars: data collection and transparency, making changes to contractual arrangements, piloting solutions, working more with ports, terminals, and the broader value chain, and making efforts on the culture and leadership side. If you think about building on this ambition statement and the group that's sort of come together to draft it and working with other companies, we know there's a lot of complexity, but what is the pillar that you're most optimistic about working on in the next 12 months, 24 months? What are you looking forward to getting stuck in on?
Yeah, I like the culture aspect of it, right? I think there's to see a pivot to the can-do and bringing people together and having frank conversations and talking things out and doing so with an open mind, because I think in the past it's been a very much an us-them, and a lot of that goes back to the traditional contractual structures that go back hundreds of years. But when we do come to industry events like this, we sit down, we talk, we learn about each other, and that creates some of those relationships to have those conversations. And so for me, it is being able to take the goodwill, the positive attitude that comes out of a Global Maritime Forum annual summit, and then transmit that energy into the ambition statement, creating the operational efficiencies parties, having that goodwill when we say, yeah, let's modify a charter party, or we need to talk to the traders to understand about the terminaling that's happening. So, and in my mind, it's really a big piece of that is the cultural aspect of that, and that's something that each of us can own, and each of us can go forward and try and work on.
Thanks. Emma?
Yeah, I think I can't choose one over the other. But I think three, in addition, obviously, with culture and mindset and leadership, because this is where it all starts. And I couldn't be more proud and fortunate to be working for a company that is a first mover and definitely forthcoming and very progressive in that area. But I think the other areas as well are going to come together, and I'm very, very optimistic that with the support of ports and terminals, through sharing data and being more transparent, we will be able to run successful pilots.
Knit it all together well. We're at time now, but I'd really like to thank Matt and Eamon for talking us through, and Liva for talking us through the ambition statement, and really for your support and leadership in getting it created and signed. So thank you very much, and thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.